Good morning. Today I'm going to be showing how to service a mower deck. I'm going to be servicing the mower deck on my Kubota BX2350. This should apply to most mower decks because it's a pretty straightforward process. So it's springtime right now. This is going to be the first time I mowed since last winter or last fall. So I'm just going to do a complete overhaul on this thing and just kind of take it off. I'll be sharpening the blades, greasing all the joints, and making sure it's just really cleaned up. And I'll probably work with the tensioner pulley a little bit because sometimes the mower decks can have a issue with the tensioner pulley, and if you've got an issue with that, you've pretty much got an issue with the whole thing. So I'll be showing a few tips and tricks on that. I'll be showing some extra tips on how I take my mower deck off and put it back on, because when I first started I just had to I had to learn a lot of stuff on my own about that. So again, this should apply to most. This is not a drive over mower deck, so this one is going to have to be manually removed out from under the tractor, but that's okay. So if you do have a drive over, this may apply with a lot of things, but it probably won't apply with everything. So, because the process of removing it and putting it back on is slightly different. So, other than that, let's get right to it. What's up, piggies? Alright, so it's fairly easy to take a mower deck off of this Kubota BX2350. I don't know how much this applies to other mower decks, but this should apply to most Kubotas. It uses like I guess you could say a 4-point system, maybe you could call it a 5-point system. There's a couple things to point out. Okay, so the yoke is right there. Let me see, it's right here. And that's our first step. We're gonna take that off. So it's got a cuff right here. You just pull that cuff back and then it pops right off of there. This right here, you can see there's a little notch right here. We're gonna put this tab in that notch. So we're gonna pull this back. Sometimes I get my foot up underneath of this caster and just lift it up a little bit. There we go. Just had to work it a little bit. And there. You can see it's inside of this tab and it locks into place. And then this part will just fall down. Just like that. Goes inside of this slot right here. That's where this pin goes in. So now it's out. Now we'll do the other side. There we go. Lock it in the notch. And then it'll fall right off. Alright, now that part's done. So we got the yoke off. We got both of those pins out. Now the last step is to undo this. Well, there's one of those same kinds of pins on this side. We're just gonna work this pin loose and that falls down. And then we'll take this bracket and then remove that. Well, let's get that out of the way. There we go. Just like that. Now this comes off. Put both of these aside with each other. Now that mower deck is completely disconnected, now we're gonna use the bucket and lift the front of the tractor, and then we'll drag this from out from under it. Okay, now this is it, and this is completely free. As you can see, I got a bunch of mucky muck on top of this, so we're gonna be cleaning all that up here in a bit. Yep, that works great. Now I'm gonna be taking these 3 blades off, and we're gonna do that by, I use all sorts of different things, but I'll probably be using a bat, and I'll wedge the bat in between here and here, or wherever I can get it, and then I'll use a nut and probably a pry bar to get this off. Got this wedged in here. I'll take that guy off right there.
There's a bucket with water. All the ticks. Eat the ticks too.
What's that? Is that the screwdriver?
That's a wrench.
That's a wrench.
It's not a screwdriver.
All right, so there was 2 washers on the inside. There was 2 washers on the inside of the blade,
Do I want them?
and this thicker washer
Right
that has a hex in the middle on the outside
right
of the blade. And then there was the nut. So we're gonna put it back, make sure we put it back on the exact same way it came off. And then we'll store these in a good place so we don't lose them. Gross, Dad. This one requires a little PB blaster.
You better stop right now. You better stop. Get you about home. Go.
All right, now we got all of the blades off. We're gonna go sharpen them right now. We're gonna use a pretty fine grinder in the shop. Let's go do it. Okay, here's the grinder we're gonna be using. It's a Ryobi, and it's got this fine grit grinder on it. So we're gonna definitely be putting some safety glasses on. All right, as you can see, the blade has a flat side here, and then it's got a beveled side. Now when these come, they're sharpened on a plane. This side would be flat, and this side would be sharpened at an angle. So we're just gonna take this angle down until it's fairly sharp. Just one side. Got a pretty good edge on it. That's good enough for me. Now we'll do the other side. All right, that's got a pretty good edge on it too. Now I'm gonna do the rest of them. I'll do all 3, and then we'll be done. And I'll come back to you. All right, now we got all of our blades sharpened up, so we're just gonna go through here, make sure these are all cleaned up with a wire brush. All right. Same with the washers. I'm gonna clean up all the washers. Nothing crazy, just to clean them up a bit, make sure that they don't have too much mucky muck on them when you put them back on. All right, so when we put them back on, you'll see that there's an angle in the blade. You'll see how the blade drops down like so, and then there's an elevated part right here. You want to make sure that this elevated part right here goes on the inside, goes on like this, because the blade is supposed to be dropped down a little bit so that it can cut lower. So you wouldn't put it like this because it's not going to cut quite as well. It's not going to cut quite as low because the blade will be up higher. So you turn it down like this and then put it on with the angle outward. Hi, buddy.
Hi.
2 washers on the inside.
Just the 2 for my Heidi.
The hex washer on the outside. You getting what now? And then we'll get that on there. Alright, I'm going to tighten all these down. I'm going to crank them down. I'm going to wedge the bat and use the wrench to tighten all those bolts down. And then I'll come back to you. Alright, I'm going to wheel this whole mower deck over there a little ways so I can spray the whole thing off while it's up against that tree right there. Now there's a couple of knobs on these covers, so we can clean out from under them. Okay, now I set them back here behind the mower deck so I don't get them all dirty. And I set them in the same order that they came off of the tractor in. I bought this tractor from a guy, real nice guy. I think he lost the knob, so he put a nut on there. So I'm gonna leave that on, but I took one of them off. So I can, I guess, maneuver it around a little bit more to clean out from under it. All right, now I got this thing propped up. I got the hose over here. I'm gonna spray all that off so it's nice and clean. It's gonna get dirty again pretty quick, but it's really mucked up right now, and it sat all winter long with that dirt in there. So I'm gonna make sure and get all that compact dirt off of there. And then now, from now on, when I mow, it's gonna be a lot easier to clean. It probably wouldn't hurt to take a pressure washer to this mower deck to clean it completely spotless, but as my dear father would say, this is good enough for the girls I go with. So we're pretty much done with this step. Now I'm gonna go get my grease gun and we're gonna grease all of the zerks, and I'll show you kind of how to tell. When you first get a tractor, especially when you're new to these kind of machines, it's hard to tell what parts of the tractor need to be greased, because I had to just look all over the tractor. My book didn't tell me where all the zerks were to grease, and so I had to try and look up as many videos as I could and just look over the entire tractor. So I'm going to try and help you understand where the zerks might be, so you know when you get a new machine like this where you need to grease it at. All right, so if you're unfamiliar with the word zerk, Z-E-R-K, this is what a zerk is. It's this little tiny little nozzle right here that the nozzle to the grease gun fits onto, and that will insert grease into the center of the cylinder, and it's got a little chamber in there where it holds grease, and you need to grease basically all the moving parts. So all of these areas where the pulleys are, so all of the moving parts of this, look all around all of these moving parts, and there should be zerks around every single one of them. So I'm gonna grease those up really quick. I'll show you how to put the grease gun on one of them. So you just take it like this. Is probably the easiest one for me to show. Take it, make sure it's clean, fairly clean, doesn't have to be perfect, and then pop that on, boink, just like that.
Now we'll take this. There's different, oh, see how it comes off easily sometimes, and sometimes you just can't get the bugger off. So we're gonna take this, then we're gonna pump that. Now we're gonna pump that. You don't have to hold this normally. We're gonna pump that until we see grease coming out of the other side. It's kind of tough to tell sometimes, especially with these ones, but as soon as the grease starts coming out, then you know the chamber is completely full. So I'll try and show that as best I can. I might have to show it on a different one until we start seeing grease come out. All right, there we go. You'll see right there, as I pump, you see more grease coming out. Okay, I added extra just to show you the grease coming out, but that's when you know that the chamber is full. So now we can take this off. As you can see, sometimes it comes right off and sometimes you really got to work it. I don't know why that is, but that's just the name of the game. There's another Zerk here. All right, I don't really know where that comes out of. We'll fill it up a good way. Okay, I can hear it coming out somewhere, so that's done. All right, so on these wheels that rotate the blades, the grease is coming out when it's full. It's coming out on the bottom side, inside of here, on this inner rim here. So over time, you'll get to know your machine. You'll get to know where the grease comes out of, so you can tell that all of the chambers are full. So I'm going to go around now. I got pretty much all of them. Now I'm going to grease the yoke, and then the last thing we have to grease is the tines on the gear that the yoke hooks to rotate the gearbox. I'll show you what that looks like when the time comes. Okay, so you'll have to rotate most of the time. Rotate the yoke like this, so you can access the Zerk that's right here on the inside. So these moving parts right here, they need to be greased as well, and then as well on the other side, there's a Zerk right there too. So like I said, all the moving parts need to be greased up. Okay, that's full. Let's get this last one here. It's a lot easier to tell when these chambers are full because they're so visible. So some of them, it's pretty hard to tell when they're full. But these ones are super easy to tell. They just take 1 or 2 squirts and then they're full. It's a pretty small chamber. So this yoke here is a cylinder around a bar. So it moves in and out. Oh, geez. So it moves in and out like this so that it can reach, depending on how far away that the tines are on the tractor, this end it's telescopic, it can reach. So we're gonna take this off like that. And we're gonna grease the inside of this and the outside of that portion. So we're just gonna grease up the outside of this pretty good. Like so. How this goes on, there's one single tine on this that is double wide. And you gotta put it on that very specifically. Okay, and we'll just make sure that's lubed up all the way. Okay. We'll get a rag and wipe that extra grease off of there. Now it's time to get this mower deck back over to the tractor so that we can put the mower deck back on, and then we're done. I'm gonna go around really quick and grease all 4 of the casters that are on the outside of my tractor. There's that one. This is a brand new one I just got. Cost me like $30 for just that caster because it busted off one day. Okay. So on the tines right here, where the yoke goes on, we're gonna grease the outside of this right here so that that yoke can slide on there and pop on real nice and easy. And we're done. Okay, there we go. All right, now the last step is for us to put the mower deck back on, and then our servicing is done. So I shouldn't have to do this probably until next spring, but I believe my mower deck calls for greasing all of those zerks every 10 hours of operation. So that would be about 5 times of mowing for me. So I probably mow 10 times in the season until fall. So I'll be greasing it at least 1 more time. Make sure when you're getting it back on that these here brackets that we took these pins out of line up perfectly. I don't know if you can see, I hope you can, but it's gonna go right there. See that, how it comes out and closes that back? You want those brackets on both sides to be lined up real nice. Make sure that your PTO is disengaged, because regardless if the tractor's on or off, if the PTO is engaged, it will make it so you can't spin those tines in there at all. So it's kind of hard to explain, but if this is undone, then you can rotate that tine in there and then pop that cuff on, and you can rotate it as you need to make sure that the tines line up with the cuff. But if that PTO is engaged, you can't rotate it at all. So I had a big problem with that one day. I just kept trying to get it on there, but I couldn't get it done because it wouldn't rotate. So I found out that the PTO needs to be disengaged for that to be able to be put on there. Okay. Let's get you up in there. So the cuff is on. Now you just need to pull that quick link back and then set it into place, and then push it onto the tines until you hear it snap, or at the very least until the cuff comes forward. Okay. Now look at that. There we go. Now it's in place. Make sure that the attachment lever has been let all the way down. We're gonna pull these back and hook them into place right there, so that pin is open. Lift that up, and it should snap right into place. There it goes. Now this is stuck down. There we go. That side's in. So we'll do the same thing to the other side. So bring this back, lock that into place, and then you'll see once this hole right here on this bracket comes in line with this pin will snap closed. There we go. All right, now the last step, put this bracket back on. There's that. And then these little dealios will bite this bar right here and then lift it up. Put those inside. Open this up. Open this up and put that holding pin right in place there. All right, we'll do that one more time. Okay. Now, crank on this lever right here until this pin lines up with that little hole right there and snaps into place. You might have to undo the pin. There it goes. Snap right into place right there. All right, everything's back together.
Now I better get to mowing, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. I want to crank out more videos, and I really like doing this. It's a lot of fun. I'm just getting started on it, so thank you for any support. I really appreciate any subscriptions and any likes. They really mean a lot to me. It just tickles me to death. So I'll be coming out with more. Thanks for watching. I really hope this helps. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, and I will fill it out in the comments section as best I can. I didn't get into the tensioner pulley too much, but mine's fine. There should be some other videos that you can look up to see what tensioner pulley does. All it does is make sure that it's a spring that holds the belt tight. So mine's fine. My belt's nice and tight. Otherwise, I'm gonna go get to mowing before it gets too dark. Thank you so much for watching. And this is the good old way. Bye-bye.